It's 6:30, and we're going to go get started. This is the League of Women Voters, our forums. We've had two previously for legislative races, and tonight we're doing the races for the City Council wards 1, 2, and 3, and this is for the primary, which is August 21st. Although early voting has started, you can vote right now at the county courthouse, the atrium, or you can get an absentee ballot from the county clerk's office. And to let you know that the county clerk has all kinds of information on how and where to register and to vote. The general election is November 6th. And that's the word. My name is Marguerite Herman. Again, this is the League of Women Voters. We are a nonpartisan organization open to all that works to help people get involved in their government, to be informed, and to vote. We hope these forums help provide some information, but we urge people to check out the candidates' materials and to contact them with other questions. And some of the candidates have brought materials that are on the table out in the hallway. The League of Women Voters also has some material out there, including our principles for campaign integrity that we're going to ask the candidates to opine on a little bit later. And there are 5 principles of campaign integrity. We hope they help voters evaluate candidates in their campaigns. We hope the candidates endorse the principles and observe them as they campaign for election. In addition, the League has this brochure, the State League has, and it's called Choosing a Candidate in Wyoming, and we have some out there on the table as well. And again, it just gives some guidelines that we hope are helpful as people evaluate candidates in their campaigns this election season, which seems to be heating up daily. And also just as a word, the League has 2 more primary forums left in August 6th at the county fair at Frontier Park. On August 6th, we're going to cover all the contested county races. So it's going to be a full night. And then on August 9th, we're going to cover the 2 statewide elections that seem to be in the shadow of the gubernatorial races, which is the contested elections for auditor and treasurer. So just keep those on your calendar. Just to remind you also that tonight's forums, as the previous ones, are being recorded by Spectrum Charter Cable Company, and they're going to post those on YouTube and also find a time to put them on their channel 192, the public access channel. So there'll be many, many ways to find out, to watch this later, maybe refer a friend to a certain section of it. We're going to try to get the information from these candidates to the voting public as much as possible, which is the point of the whole exercise. So just to let you know, there are 3 wards. And each ward has 3 seats, and each one of those has 1 seat that is up for election this year. 2 years, the other 2 will be up for election. We have 2 incumbents running in 2 of those wards, and the other is completely open. It's a 4-year term, and the way it works, they're nonpartisan offices, so people don't run representing a political party. They're not looking for a nomination. What they're doing is the top 2 vote getters in each ward race will then advance to the general election. But again, it's nonpartisan. That's why you can see there's no designation, Republican, Democrat, Independent, or whatever on the cards. So just to do a little roadmap for tonight, what we're going to do is the candidates have been advised. I just want to, I'll introduce them and mention that there are 2 candidates missing. There are 5 running in this Ward 1 race. But we'll start out with introductions. There'll be 1 minute for them to just quickly say who they are, and then we'll go into the questions. The League of Women Voters has several prepared for tonight. They'll have 1.5 minutes for each one, and then we'll just give a brief 15-second opportunity if you want to add a comment or add maybe comment on someone else's response. There'll be a brief opportunity for that. But since we have all 3 wards, we're going to try to keep things kind of brief tonight. There will be an opportunity for the public to submit questions. We have some cards and pencils out in the lobby, and also there's a League member here, Kelly Pellissier, who has cards and pencils. We ask that the questions be addressed to all people on the dais, so they all have a chance to answer the same question. So we just discourage people from targeting one candidate or another. And finally, we have a timer who's going to help people keep track of the time. And what she'll do as the 1.5 minute starts, then as it counts down to 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and then stop. And she's right in front of you. So we hope it's not distracting, but it does help you know that how close you're getting to the end of the process. So, and I think that's it. And so we'll go ahead and get started. And so each one of you will have 1 minute to do an intro. Oh, I forgot to do, and let me do that right now, just to say, so the 5 candidates running are Stephanie Boster, J.C. Manolo, and I wanted to indicate, I misspelled, it's Manalo on his sign there. Scott Roybal, Jessica Sullivan is not here tonight, and Greg Crisp, the 5th candidate, also said he had a conflict tonight. So there will be 5 people on your ballot for Ward 1. So we'll go ahead and start, and we'll do these questions kind of in a round-robin fashion. We'll start with we'll stagger the starting and right now, I think we'll start with Ms. Boster. You have 1 minute to just tell us who you are.
Hello, good evening. My name is Stephanie Boster. I'm obviously running for City Council, Ward 1. I'm originally from Casper, Wyoming. I moved here back in 2011, and I served on the City Council in various committees and boards in Casper when I was on the council there. And I've moved to Cheyenne, and I love Cheyenne. And I really want to be active in this community, and that's why I'm running for City Council here.
All right, thank you. Mr. Manolo.
Yeah, good evening. I'm J.C. Manolo. I'm running for Ward 1. I'd like to thank the League Women for inviting us here. It's an honor to be with Scott and Stephanie. I sure don't have, as you see in the paper, I sure don't have the experience of political office like Scott and Stephanie, but I grew up in a political family. My grandfather was a senator, and in the Philippines before, and I have a political I have the political intricacies of running for political office, and it got a fresh perspective. I graduated from LaSalle, Bachelor of Science, Management Financial Institution. My work is currently I'm a Target Mobile. You know me, Target Mobile. Target. Mm-hmm. Some people know that. I also work at Dollar Tree, so I represent 99% of the hardworking Americans. Because I've had 2 jobs for 7 years, and I have business, small business. I represent small business. Wyoming, proudly Wyoming-made lotions, and we have property rentals now. So we represent also small business owners as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. Mr. Roybal.
Marguerite, thank you. I learn more about the process every time I listen to you. So, my name's Scott Roybal. I'm the incumbent in Ward 1. Done this in 2 different centuries. I was a councilman from 97 through 2001, and then this term. So it's been an interesting bunch. Learned a lot more this time than I did the last time because of these things. You get very, very quick representation and very, very quick people letting you know what they think. I enjoy the business or the office. There's the where you can actually get access to what you need. You can get access, talk to different people. You can get in and talk to people. I get phone calls all the time, as some of the other councilmen in here can tell you, and retiring councilmen can tell you. We get them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it doesn't bother me. I enjoy the office. And so, and after listening to these guys' their bios, I'm not sure I'm the best candidate yet. So that's me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And I just want to make sure your mics are on. You have the little buttons. Is it green?
It's green.
All right, so we're good to go. I guess to speak up, maybe some people in the back of the room are having trouble making it to the back of the room. But, okay, thank you very much. So that was the round of openings, and we will start with Mr. Now, I make sure I pronounce your name. Manolo? Is that how it?
Manolo.
Manolo. Okay.
But you want to know the real pronunciation of it or the American pronunciation of it?
The one I can use, the one I can wrap my mouth around.
Well, I don't sing, though.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Manolo. Well, Very good, very good. And so just as a word, the only question we gave these candidates before tonight, or heads up on, was that we wanted them to talk about 3 issues facing the city and how they would approach them. And we understand a minute and a half doesn't give you a chance to be really expansive, but they have had a chance to kind of think about this and get a concise answer. So we will start with that as our first question, the 3 issues question, and you'll have a minute and a half. Mr. Manolo, if you would like to start.
I think the 3 pressing issues here is number one for me is the homeless. There are people though. We have to take care of it. Although the mayor with his gala, funding, I don't think it doesn't lack the long-term vision. So it's something that we should frontally address. And what we could do is, find out the success stories of how these people, the homeless, went back to being productive members of society and do it also in their case, though, too. And also, the number 2 and number 3 is the modernization and the beautification of downtown, which is part of our ward. I would strongly suggest a free Wi-Fi especially in the depot, which will attract people to come in, because everyone is technology. You can give up a lot of things, but you'll never give up technology, though. Your cell phone. So it's something that will attract people to come in, though. And also, I would strongly suggest, though, but this is kind of long term, is put the power lines underground. It will make it more beautiful, though, and make a large conduit that will, create space for businesses to put more cables, so it will pay for itself, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Roybal.
I think the 3 that I see is important in the next 5 years is the basic mandate of what we do as a city council, and that's health, safety, and welfare. It's an ongoing process. We need to make sure that we keep our existing infrastructure up. We make sure that we have enough police officers and the firemen to take care of what's going on in the next 5 years. Second is retaining workforce amenities. We get a lot of people that once they're out of high school, once they're out of college, they're gone. So they say there's nothing to do here. So we've been doing things. We've worked on across the street. As you could see when you pulled up, it was all tore up. And that was a collusion of, not collusion, but a push of all of the councilmen to make something happen on the west side. And all of us got together, we all stuck together through the project, and now it's coming to fruition. Things like the west side project on Russell, and as that comes through. We've got the wetlands down there, we've got a bike lane.
Green lane.
But we've the bike path all around the city. Things like that will help keep our younger people here as far as that. And the last is our growing infrastructure. We just put in 2,200 acres south of town. So we've got fire stations, police substations. We need people to man them. We have to find a way to fund the infrastructure. 5th penny, sales tax, 7th penny, development fees. It's all something we got to start working on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Boster.
Thank you. I think the 3 issues that are facing our city in the next 5 years are definitely, number 1, the budget. Funds are declining for cities throughout Wyoming, and if we don't figure out the budget issue, we're not going to be able to do anything with our community. And unfortunately, the budget is decreasing and not increasing. And the Wyoming legislature is the one that really controls our budget. And the problem with that is we have local control, but they've got the purse strings. So we need more items in our toolbox that we can use as a community to increase revenue and have more control over that funding. But without funding, there isn't much we could do as a community. And we need to get that funding and those tools from the Wyoming legislature. The second thing is quality of life, and those are really the amenities that make us want to live here in Cheyenne. Without that, we're moving and leaving for communities in Arizona. Maybe we're going to Colorado. But we really need to focus on what makes us Cheyenne and what are the great things in our community that we love. And maybe that's going to be the commons. It's the depot. It's those things that bring us all together. And the last thing is really our infrastructure. We've got roads, we've got buildings, we've got things that we've put money into in this community that we're not funding. And we've really got to figure out a plan on how we're going to fund those things and keep them in good shape or make them in better shape.
Okay, thank you. And so the first question will be starting this time with Mr. Roybal. It kind of segues a little bit off what Ms. Boster was talking about, is funding for various projects, infrastructure, the fifth penny, which will be on the ballot in November, and we haven't heard a whole lot about it. There was sort of a flurry in May, and I was just wondering, do you agree with the way the city spends its fifth penny revenue, which isn't really optional anymore? I think we can all acknowledge we really rely on it. Would you like to see changes in the priorities and shares for public works, which gets the lion's share, library, human services, and other purposes, which may include amenities? So I guess, do you have any thoughts about the fifth penny and how it should be spent, and maybe even whether it should even be an optional ballot question, since, you know, practically speaking, I don't think the city would survive pretty much without it. So, fifth penny, Mr. Roybal, you want to opine on that? You have a minute and a half.
Okay, fifth penny. I would not take it off the ballot. Simple reason being is we have to sell it. We have to show you what we're doing with the money. We just can't take it and say, okay, we're going to put it toward here. We need to have transparency in this. We need to show what percentages are going in each place. And we've had discussions about maybe taking that the fifth penny and just saying, okay, we're going to spend it on roads or on fire trucks. But I think the ongoing discussion with this is just to leave it as it sets, because we've promised the people this is what we're going to do with it. As far as like infrastructure, roads, things like that, the minute you put a road down, it starts degrading. So we have you start having to watch that road. And we used to tear them up, put a new road in. We've done things, we follow along with the state now, where we're doing things like we're milling it and then putting it back on. So we don't let it go to the point where it's so out of round that we can't fix it. But as far as the fifth penny being anything but for amenities, you know, such as life choice amenities, things that workforce amenities, I think we need to leave that one in the fifth penny. If we're going to start doing things like that, we should look at either late sixth penny or early seventh pennies, quarter pennies, half pennies. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Ms. Boster, I know that was kind of a rambling question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I think
Okay,
I understand.
all right, thank you.
I support the fifth penny, and I also support the fact that it's an optional 1-cent sales tax. And Casper had a 1-cent sales tax, and they also had a citizen committee that voted on all the projects that were funded by a portion of that tax. And I'd like to see more community involvement with the fifth penny. I think if the community feels like they have a buy-in and it's not just another pot of money that the city is spending on things that they're not necessarily interested in, I think it's more appealing to the taxpayers. But I think it's always important for the council and for the city to realize that this is the taxpayers saying to the city, we're willing to tax ourselves. So you've got an obligation to spend that money on something that benefits the entire community. And I will also say I only support use of the 1-cent sales tax for capital construction projects and infrastructure. It should never be used for administration. I think that it goes in the city's budget. Nobody's salary should be paid by the 5th cent because it can go away, and it should go away if the city is not using it prudently.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Memolo, you want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
The fifth penny, the 1% sales tax, fifth penny is going to be on the ballot in November, and we haven't heard much about it since May. There was sort of an informational thing there, but I guess we're so reliant on now for some basic money for the library, but mostly for public works and human services and other things. So should it be an optional ballot issue, remain that way, and do you agree with the way it's being spent now?
Absolutely. I agree with both my colleagues here that the fifth penny should be stayed on as it is. Let the people decide on what it should go into. Especially we need, you see the roads, the condition of road infrastructures, though. It's really needed, though. And of course, the libraries and places like that, it needs to be developed, though. and infrastructure is one thing that is important. I think that is one thing that was I remember during the election of the mayor, that was the real cry of the people with the outgoing administration now, that the roads were in terrible condition. So infrastructure and roads especially should be a foremost priority in this thing. Fifth penny, though.
Okay, thank you. And now, 15-second optional, if someone has a comment to add or to comment on someone else's response. And if not, that's fine. All right. Oh, did you want to add something? Sure.
Yeah, it wasn't the bike path, it was the greenway, okay?
Right. Thank you. All right, very good. Okay, and so we will move on to our next question, which kind of segues a little bit into the previous, which is, and at this point we will start with Ms. Boster again. Okay, for a minute and a half. What role do you think the City Council should take in economic development and revitalizing downtown, and in general, I guess, use of public funds and or loan guarantees or other things to help the economic development of downtown? And maybe you can make a citywide comment, but especially downtown.
I think the City of Cheyenne has a role in partnering with local businesses and property owners to revitalize the city and downtown. And I served on the City Council in Casper, and one of the biggest things I realized when I joined the council is that the city doesn't own the downtown. So you've really got to be willing to work with those property owners and business owners to revitalize it, unless you want to buy up all the blocks in downtown Cheyenne, which I don't think is the way to go. So you've got to work on a partnership, get everybody at the table, and start talking about what do we want our downtown to look like, what are uses that we don't want downtown, what are things that we are seeing working downtown. Have those conversations and keep having them, and have them in a public forum so anybody who's interested in downtown and what's happening there and what kind of plans there are to revitalize it and improve it can look maybe on the city's website and find that out. That's difficult right now. But I think it's got to be a partnership, and I think it's working with economic development organizations like LEADS and like the Chamber to encourage businesses and organizations to come into our community. They've got a lot more tools and a lot more resources that the city might not have. But I think it's got to be a partnership. It can't just be the city trying to bulldoze and get what they want done. You've got to work with everybody to get it going.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Manilow.
Yeah, I would agree to most of what she said. If you notice, my pressing issues was already what was the question is modernization and beautification of the downtown. So right now, not a lot of people don't want to hang out in downtown. It's not the place to be in, though, because there's the homeless are there, and that's why we have to take care of them. We have to retool them, make sure that they can be put back to society as productive members, and offering free Wi-Fi which will attract them to go to downtown more. The young people, if you give them technology, they will be there, and who will benefit for that? But the local businesses. So local businesses should be partnered with as well. And one of the things that I said was building a large conduit which will put in all the cables, and that will pay for itself, with other businesses trying to put in those cables, so which will pay for itself now.
Okay, very good. Mr. Roybal.
By an odd coincidence, the downtown to a city is the city's soul. So you want to see a vibrant, moving, fun downtown. We've had a whole downtown for, 15, 16 years? And then we've also had a building next to it, the Heinz building, that's has sat empty for 30 years. Well, I got together with LEADS and with the DDA, and we put together a plan that the City Council has also sponsored $750,000 toward to revitalize those two properties. LEADS now owns both halves of the whole, so we have a whole. And then we put the two projects together. LEADS is working on a request for proposal right now so that we can send it out. It seems like some of the local developers have given up on that portion of the downtown. So we're going to try sending it out across country and see what else we can pick up. There's got to be more technology, more new that we can do with that. Other things like the splash pad. This council has said, yes, we're going to put some money toward it. The locals, Mr. Johnson has helped tremendously, but in raising private funds for it. So yeah, I see a public and private partnerships going on, and this could be the blueprint for downtown that we need to get it up and vibrant again. We still have the Bell Building. We're going to take down the Z's Building or Kerry Building, whichever you want to call it this week. But we're going to take that down and put a courthouse in there. So we will have some more people downtown, and that's what it's going to take to make it vibrant again, is public and private partnerships. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we've had a request that you move the mic a little bit closer to your mouth. There you go. Thank you.
They usually ask me to move it away.
Not us. Okay, and so I get okay. So that was
That was the three of us.
that was all three. Anyone add anything at this point? A 15-second rebuttal. All right, then. Very good. So we'll start this time with Mr. Manilow. So this is getting into an issue that was somewhat controversial last fall. A group of Cheyenne residents known for their charitable and civic work came to the City Council with the idea of a charter for compassion for Cheyenne. And they said it applied only to local charitable efforts, but withdrew the idea when council members and others feared it might be a backdoor to international environmental or immigration initiatives. Would you like to take another look at that charter for compassion and then explain? And I hope I've given you enough background. Are you familiar with the charter for compassion and the dispute? And that doesn't ring a bell. I guess, well, maybe just in general, would you like the City Council to consider an initiative to increase charitable efforts and civic efforts in Cheyenne?
What are they trying to do?
Well, I guess maybe the question was not. It wasn't I guess, you know what, if you want to pass and listen to other responses and then come back to you, let's go. Mr. Roybal was on the council, so you remember it, correct?
I do.
And so if you want to go ahead and start, and then maybe we can come back as you become more familiar with it, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so.
In meeting with the folks that brought that forward,